and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be doing another manifestation, what do you call them, like story time, manifestation story time I suppose. I apologise if the quality is really bad. I'm currently lending my camera out to my dad's business partner, so I don't actually have my full setup as usual, so this is like as good as it's going to get right now. But yeah, so I recently read How to Get What You Want by Abraham Hicks, like the Abraham Hicks book, which I mentioned in one of my videos I picked up. And one of the techniques, it teaches you like 22 techniques, I think it is. 22 techniques. A load. I'm just going to say a load because there is a shit ton of techniques in that book. And one of the ones that stuck out for me was the idea that every single day you write down essentially a bank account. And so on day one, the universe gives you £1,000 and you write how you would spend that £1,000 like a bank statement. And then day two, you get £2,000, day three, you get £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, etc. And I started doing this about 2 weeks ago, and I basically had a few things on that. I did it for like 2 days and then I left it for like 4 days, but I continued like where I left off. So I continued like after 2 days at £3,000, £4,000. And I am currently at £6,000 and it has been 2 weeks. Obviously I'm not actually spending this money, I'm just writing down like how I would spend this money, what I'd spend it on, and in what order I would spend it on. And it came to the realisation that the first thing that I wanted on my, like after my money, so the first thing I spent my money on was a bike, because obviously I'm a triathlete and I like bikes, and I wanted a new bike for quite some time, but because I'm now slowly going into Ironman rather than like small triathlons, I basically need a more techie bike, or a bike that's a little bit more aero and can do a little bit more for me. And I have been in love. Oh, this wasn't the bike I was going to get. I was literally setting myself like, this is the next bike I am going to get. And I knew in my head, and for like since I've been doing triathlons for like 2 years now, I've always wanted a particular bike. Always have, always will. So the first thing I spent my bike on, first thing I spent my money on was my bike. And the second thing I spent my money on was a ticket to go and see Tony Robbins. So basically my dad bought 2 tickets for me and him to go and see Tony Robbins, and I wanted to be able to give him that money back as quickly as possible. So they were the 2 things, and then it obviously goes on to paying, like saving some money, paying off some loans, so like paying off my mortgage and things like that. So essentially it was a bike, a ticket to Tony Robbins, and then debt to basically become debt free entirely. So like car, house, all of that. And then it would go on to things like I'd want to take my other half out for dinner, I'd want to go on, I'd like book us a holiday, I would give £500 to charity. So anyway, so this is how I set it out every single day, and it got to today I've got £6,000 to spend, and I realised that I do not have to put down a bike or a ticket to Tony Robbins, because I've actually purchased or done those 2 items. And it really hit me when I was like, right, okay, what's the first thing I'm going to spend my money on? And I was like, right, well, I can tick off a bike because I've just purchased a bike. Right, and I've just paid Dad back for the money of Tony Robbins, so that's that. So the first thing I'm actually going to pay off is my debt. And honestly, I could not believe, I was overwhelmed that actually things that happened during the weeks, which is why I purchased the bike and how I managed to pay my dad back the money for Tony Robbins, it was all of these things that I was a bit like, okay, they were circumstantial at the time, but actually when I realised, and I sat down to do my daily ritual of fake bank accounts, like universe bank accounts, I realised that actually I'd manifested the first 2 things, and because every single day I was reiterating that I wanted them, I actually managed to get them. So it was all a little bit circumstantial, so I'm going to talk about the first one. So obviously I wanted a bike for a very long time. I've got a bike, it works fine, I didn't need a new bike, but if you take this sport seriously, you do tend to buy a new bike every single year. It's because you put that many miles on the bike, it's time to renew it. And don't get me wrong, I hadn't put like loads of miles on my bike, like not at all. But I've got Ride London coming up, I've got some Olympic triathlons coming up, and I'm training for Ironman next year. So I knew that it was about time I had a bike for a turbo and a bike for actually racing. And at the moment my bike does both, and I just swap the tyres over. It just wasn't an ideal setup at all. So I looked into getting a Boardman bike, which is a bike which is a good brand, would be a brand going back that I would have purchased first of all. I would have spent like an extra couple of £100 to get that bike, but it wasn't the bike of my dream. The bike of my dream has always been a Liv bike. I think their designs are absolutely amazing. They are made for women. They are just absolutely gorgeous bikes that are built amazingly, and I haven't got a bad thing to say about the company. It's just, you know how someone always wants like a Mustang as their dream car, or Ferrari? This bike was my Ferrari. This bike was my Ferrari, and for some reason, so I was looking at obviously getting the Boardman bike, and basically I talked about it for a few days, and then all of a sudden my boss turned around to me and was like, oh, I met someone the other day that does triathlons, like, have you purchased a new bike for this year? And I was like, no, but I want to, like, I've been looking at it and I've been talking about it. He was like, oh, well, if you want to take it seriously, you should renew your bikes. You should have like this bike for this bike for this. And he just reiterated what I was trying to justify in my head as to why I needed to buy a new bike, and why I was putting it down on my manifestation sheet as the first thing to buy. Because yes, I have a bike, it's not broken, but actually I want a bike because I want to be able to train in certain ways. I wanted race wheels, I wanted a lighter frame. There was lots of different things that I wanted in a bike, and my B-Twin just didn't cover all of those areas for me. Don't get me wrong, I still use it. It's like sat on my turbo. But yeah, no, so that happened. So basically day one, I'd written down I wanted to buy a bike. Day two, I looked at a Boardman bike because I was sitting there, I had something to do, and I was like, oh, I wonder like if that Boardman bike, which I saw ages ago, is still like £550 or whatever it was still the same amount that I was putting down on my manifestation. Day 3 in the morning, I have a chat with my manager, and he's like, Emily, go buy a bike. What the hell was that? Sounds like a wind chime. Day 3, I had that conversation in the morning, and by the end of day 3, I'd purchased said bike. But I hadn't just purchased the bike that I was looking at. I didn't purchase the Boardman bike. No, I purchased my dream bike, and it made me feel slightly sick. It made me feel very, very scared to do so. But honestly, it was the most amazing feeling ever that I'd actually got this bike that I wanted, and it just kind of all worked out. So basically the Boardman bike was a set amount. I could either pay the money up front, or it was a set amount interest-free for a year. And I personally think, I don't like leakages from my bank account, and I will reiterate, I don't like leakages from my bank account, but if you can get something interest-free, you may as well do it, because it just makes sense. It's, I don't know, interest-free is a little bit of a thing that kind of gets my go. So anyway, so this Boardman bike I was looking at was like £50 a month for a year. And I thought, right, okay, that's fine. And then you had to pay like the lump sum at the end of it. And I thought, right, great. That suits me, that suits my budget, absolutely everything. And I just thought, out of interest, I wonder how much the Liv bike is. And I haven't looked at them in ages, and I looked at it, and there was a finance option for interest-free, and I was like, right, okay, I'm just gonna have a little look at the finance option. So if I paid what I would have paid for my Boardman bike at the end up front on a Liv bike, it worked out at like £10 more a month to buy my ultimate dream bike. And again, I could afford it, so I ended up purchasing that bike. And then I thought, wow, okay, I didn't really twig until I went back and I didn't have to put the bike down on my list, that actually I'd managed to manifest a new bike, but not only a new bike, but my ultimate bike, because I knew deep down that's what I always wanted. So that's what I ended up getting. And it's such a simple technique, because the next day I paid off the money for the Tony Robbins ticket. And again, it just worked out that was the exact amount in this account at that time. It was simple to do. It didn't cause any problems. I didn't even have to move any money around. It was literally there, sitting there, and it was like, I looked at my bank account and it literally said 600, like it had the number in front, but the actual 100 amount was £600, and I was like, oh my God, that is perfect. I just wouldn't have, like, I didn't want to have to take the money out of my savings account and then from like a different account and move it all around into one account and then transfer it over, because to me that's ag. So when I logged onto my internet banking and I saw that figure that I needed to send my dad, I was like, oh my fuck, like literally, oh my fuck. So I have managed to tick off 2 things. Obviously, don't think I'm going to pay my debt off as quick as I'm going to get a bike. or as I got the bike and the Tony Robbins ticket, because my debt is a house and a car, so it's not exactly going to disappear anytime soon. I mean, I'm going to keep trying to manifest it disappears sometime soon. But yeah, so that literally is the easiest. That is my success story. I've been doing it for 2 weeks, but literally 6 days out of those 2 weeks, I have sat down and I've basically written a bank statement every single day where the money comes in from the universe and I spend it. And I do spend it to the last penny exactly every single time, because I would save money. If there was money left over, I would save it, and I'd give like £500 to charity, which was always on there. I would take my other half out for lunch, which was always on there, or for dinner. Like, we would book a holiday, like all those things that you want to do, that you would do if you had that money, I've written down to the last penny, because if essentially someone gave me that money, I would save anything left over to the last pence in a high interest account. So yeah, I honestly think it takes like minutes a day, and I honestly think it is the easiest technique if you want to be financially abundant and you feel like everything you want is just too expensive for your lifestyle and you just feel run down. It is the best manifestation technique I have ever tried to sort out my finances. Honestly, to be able to look at where I would want to spend that money and how I would spend that money and what I would do to make that happen, and actually being gifted it, you're thinking about it, it just seemed like everything aligned perfectly. And I am going to continue doing this technique because I'm now at a point where I am getting enough money in to pay off what is left on like my car and things like that. So it sounds like I'm getting free money. I'm not getting, essentially in my head I'm getting free money and I'm spending it in my head. I'm not actually physically going out and spending this money, but for some reason, as the more I think about and the more I write down every single day that this is what I'm going to spend this money on in this order, I seem to be ticking off everything from the top going downwards, and like my intention and my vibration all match, and it just seems to be working. So I thought I would share this little clip with you in a vlog and basically give you the technique and how to do it, because it's a great technique for me and I am definitely going to keep doing it. I honestly would recommend it. I tried to explain it to like one of my friends and they'd be like, what? But you're going to spend your money? And I'm like, no. I'm basically setting my intentions and how I would spend my money in a to-do list. Like you would do a to-do list and you'd put the most important thing at the top. That is essentially what I'm doing. I can hear that noise again. It's like a radiator. It's like a wind chime in a radiator. Yeah, and I have no idea what I was saying. I've lost track of all. But essentially, yes, this is a really, really great technique and I would recommend it. I'm going to create a worksheet on how I do it. My bank is Nationwide, which is why I put Nationwide at the top. But I will leave a link to a blank statement down below. I literally just have it in a book and I write Nationwide, the date, the credit, and then every single debit out. And I do like the debit. So I write debit and then I write who I've purchased, so with the brief description. Then I write the amount going out and then I write the balance left over every single time, and I work it that way. So it is really simple to do. It takes a couple of minutes, honestly, literally a couple of minutes. You could do it on your phone if you really wanted to while sitting there having it on the toilet. Like, you could do it anywhere. So I would recommend it. And if you have any other manifestation what do you call it, techniques, that's the word, I'm not with it at all today. If you have any other manifestation techniques that work for you and that are really, really simple, then please leave them down below, because it would really help. As much as I said, I read the Abraham Hicks book, yet that technique seems to be the only thing that's kind of caught my eye out of those 22 techniques. And I think if I revisited the book, I'd pick up some more, but honestly, if things work for people, then I believe that they're easier to read. It's one thing reading it on a book and it's the book telling you how to do it, but it's another thing when someone goes, actually, I've done this, it's worked, it's been successful, this is what I've got, and it just clicks in your head more. So I hope this video helps, and I will see you with another video. Hopefully I'll see you soon with another manifestation success story or tip. And if you have obviously any questions or any techniques, please leave them, as I mentioned, down below. Thank you very much. Bye.